We were lucky enough to get a set of used LoD Destroyer series rock sliders from another Jeeper for half the retail price. Not only do they match our LoD Destroyer rear bumper setup, they also give us a much better clearance and protection for trail rides. We're going to walk you through the installation. Come and join us in our garage. First thing we have to do is remove the Quadratec QRC side armors from our Jeep. These side armor steps are body mounted and are a good entry-level upgrade, but we prefer the frame-mounted type rock slider like the LoD Destroyer series. Before installing, we have to remove nuts from the studs. You'll need a 16mm socket for this step. We're starting from the driver's side of the Jeep. Pay attention to the notes in the instruction. Installation for driver's side and passenger side are slightly different. Next, we found out that the high lift jack driver's side mount is in the way, so we have to remove that before installing the rock slider. It is possible to do this installation by yourself, but it's easier with two sets of hands. Jeremy is showing you how you can balance the rock slider on a garage trolley jack to help position it for installation. We used a mallet to help push the slider in place before bolting it in. Hand tighten the body bolts first. Repeat the same step to the other mount.
Use the provided flag nut and insert it into the rectangular hole in the front driver's side for the hex bolt and washer marked in the instruction for this part of the installation. We use 3/4 inch socket for tightening this bolt. Step F is optional but recommended for off-road use. There is already a hole for this on the driver's side. However, you will have to drill a hole on the passenger side, which we'll show you later. We also added Loctite to be safe. You may notice that our nuts and bolts are slightly different than what you receive from LoD. In the beginning of the installation, we found some hardware missing. We picked grade A versions of what was needed at the hardware store. So there is a slight chance that the hardware we used may not 100% match what is provided by LoD. Now we install the LoD supplied hardware for holes labeled C on the driver's side. You will reuse the stock bolts that are already there on the passenger side. Use bolts and washers labeled C. Tighten using a 19mm socket or wrench. Step B is optional for the rear mount, but is also recommended for off-road use. If you decide to do this, use a 7/16 drill bit and use the provided self-tapping thread roller bolts. Slowly tighten them until fully seated. This was part of the missing hardware for us, so we tapped the thread ourselves using a tap wrench set. Our purchase hardware was 3/4, and 3/4 socket is close enough that I used it on the 19mm bolts to tighten down as well. Thoroughly tighten all of the bolts and you are done with the driver's side.
For the passenger side, we will repeat pretty much the same steps except for two things. First is to drill the hole needed in the front passenger side for bolt labeled F. Use the template provided in the instruction manual. This will help you mark the hole location. Use a 9/16 drill bit to drill through the frame. On the passenger side only. Again, the driver's side already has a hole. We started with a smaller drill bit to help put a pilot hole in there before using the larger drill bit. Second is to remove the two bolts from the factory skid plates. They are in the same locations as the bolts marked C on the driver's side. Keep them handy because you will be reusing the bolts to mount the rock slider on this side. I helped Jeremy to position the rock slider on this side because it was quite a tight fit to get the mounts into position where the pockets were. We had to make sure everything was level before it will seat in the studs marked A on this side. Everything else came together relatively easy and we're extremely happy with the results. Thank you for joining us for this install of the LoD Destroyer series rock sliders for our 2021 Jeep Wrangler JL Rubicon. Hope you find this video helpful, and please like, share, and subscribe for future Jeep builds, trail reports, and overland adventures.